In the early 1980s, deep in the jungles of Colombia, a small plane sat on a hidden airstrip. Its engines hummed in the darkness as men hurriedly loaded heavy duffel bags filled with cocaine into the cargo hold. The pilot checked his watch. He had mere minutes before takeoff. Once airborne, he would fly low over the ocean, dodging radar, and land in Mexico, where drug mules would carry the cargo across the U.S. border. This was no ordinary operation. This was Air Escobar, Pablo Escobar's private airline dedicated to smuggling cocaine, a fleet of hundreds of aircraft that moved billions of dollars worth of drugs across continents. Escobar, known as the King of Cocaine, didn't just dominate the drug trade. He reinvented smuggling through the skies. At first, Escobar's cartel used boats and human couriers, but these methods were slow and risky. He needed a faster, more efficient way to transport cocaine. So, he turned to airplanes, realizing they could move tons of drugs in hours instead of days. His cartel purchased a fleet of small planes, including Cessnas, Learjets, and even Boeing 727s, turning remote jungle airstrips into cocaine highways. Some of these airstrips were built deep in the Amazon, invisible to authorities. Others were hidden in plain sight, disguised as private airfields. How did they avoid detection? Flying low over water. Pilots flew just 100 feet above the ocean to evade U.S. radar. Mid-air cocaine drops. Planes dumped cargo into the sea, where speedboats retrieved it. Fake flight plans. Pilots bribed air traffic controllers to erase their routes from radar logs. Landing on remote islands. Caribbean islands became refueling stations before reaching the U.S. Escobar's pilots were some of the best in the world. Many were former military aviators trained in evasive maneuvers. If a plane was intercepted, they would ditch the cargo and crash land in the jungle before getting caught. One of Escobar's biggest moves was buying a legitimate airline to move drugs right under the government's nose. Dubbed Air Escobar, this operation used commercial flights to transport cocaine hidden inside. Passenger seats and luggage compartments, fuel tanks, so drugs wouldn't be detected by dogs. Fake cargo shipments disguised as electronics or coffee beans. With the help of bribed airport officials, Escobar's cartel was moving 500 kilograms of cocaine per flight, sometimes even inside the uniforms of flight attendants. At its peak, Escobar's aviation empire was making him $420 million per week. His cartel had so much cash that an estimated $2 billion per year was lost due to rats eating the stored money in hidden warehouses. Authorities tried to track his flights, but Escobar always stayed one step ahead. His planes were constantly repainted, given new registrations, and moved between secret hangars. Some planes were even abandoned mid-flight, crashed intentionally once their mission was complete. By the late 1980s, U.S. authorities had had enough. The DEA and Colombian government launched Operation Snowcap, an aggressive effort to shut down Escobar's air routes. Fighter jets intercepted planes. U.S. forces began tracking and shooting down cartel aircraft. Secret airstrips were destroyed. The Colombian military bombed and burned jungle runways. Pilots were arrested or killed. Many of Escobar's top pilots were captured or executed. Escobar, seeing his air network collapse, had to change tactics. He shifted to narco submarines, underground tunnels, and even bribing Mexican drug lords to smuggle cocaine through land routes. As Escobar's war against the Colombian government escalated, his ability to move drugs by air became impossible. In 1991, Escobar was forced to surrender and entered a self-made luxury prison called La Catedral. But even from inside, he tried to keep his empire running. By 1993, with Escobar on the run, his cartel's air operations had collapsed. The last of his drug planes were either seized, shot down, or left abandoned in the jungle. On December 2, 1993, after a massive manhunt, Pablo Escobar was finally tracked and killed on a rooftop in Medellin. His empire crumbled, and the days of drug-laden planes filling the skies came to an end. Even today, remnants of Escobar's abandoned planes can still be found in the Colombian jungle, rusting relics of an empire built on aviation and cocaine. His tactics inspired modern cartels, who now use private jets, drones, and even narco submarines to transport drugs. But one thing remains true. Pablo Escobar's cocaine airline was one of the most brilliant, dangerous, and successful smuggling operations in history. Want more cartel-related aviation stories? Follow FlyAirOdyssey for more stories.